and welcome to this discussion on your IP, your future with Creative First. Our first speaker today is Brahmanand Singh. He is an established director, author, poet, and life coach. He's best known for Jhalki Kagas Ki Kashti, Pancham Unmixed, Mujhe Chalte Jana Hai, A Burden of Love, and Asgari Bai. Brahmanand is a recipient of two National Film Awards and the 2019 REX Karmaveer Chakra Gold Award, a United Nations driven honor in recognition for transforming lives through social impact projects and for creating ideas of hope. He has published over 3,000 articles and authored three biographical books and has also been invited to be on the jury of many international film festivals. His current feature project is Surmai Sham, which we're going to talk about later today. He is a graduate from St. Xavier's College, Ranchi, and holds a master in English literature from Kolkata University. Brahmanand, welcome to this discussion.
Great honor to be here. Thank you.
Our second speaker, Jamshed Mistry, is an experienced counsel and founder of the International Legal Alliance, a virtual global network of lawyers. He has a demonstrated history of working in the law practice industry and skilled in various types of litigation, international law, media, and entertainment law. Jamshed is a member of the Bombay Bar Association, the Intellectual Property Rights Practitioners Association, Maximum Lawyer Group, and associate member of the Canadian Bar Association. He is also on the advisory board of the South Asian Fashion Week Vancouver and the Vancouver International South Asian Film Festival. Jamshed, welcome to this discussion.
You.
Brahmanand, could you share a pivotal project that shaped your perspective on the importance of protecting creative works and intellectual property rights?
So I have it at two stages. One was when I made a very uh, a documentary which became very, very popular and in some ways almost cult uh, film, and another one which I when I made a feature, you know, and in both the learnings were very interesting because I I had to shed off my naivety through coincidence. And before I tell you very briefly about both these projects which shaped my understanding of IP, I must also say that we are in a profession where protecting IP, being conscious of IP, being aware of IPs, starts right from the time that you conceive an idea, put it on paper, write a script, down to when you make presentations, you meet people, you look for funds, to the time when you make the films. I think that's the only period where IP is not into too much of consideration. And then again, after you've made the film, the moment it has a life, then the maximum IP awareness and care starts. So I think the documentary that I was talking to you about, I had made something which was interesting, feature length, and I was ready to give away the IP at just 25% of the costs that I had incurred, saying that, okay, I don't know much about these things, so I'll let you have it. And that did not happen. That did not happen. And I was, you know, given vague promises. Again, that did not happen. And I took the rights back to myself, the IP rights back. And the kind of things that happened thereafter in the next almost 10 years of that is mind blowing. So suddenly I woke up to the importance of owning IPs, protecting IPs, understanding IPs, because then again, this was the kind of project where every third week there was someone who was stealing, who was using. I'm talking about a film that I made, a documentary that I made on R.D. Burman. You know, it was a 2 hour film, and everyone was using clips from that without taking permission from me. So people were using right from Javed Saab on ZTV to Karan Johar on Star Plus, you know, and things like that. And these are just two big names, but there were about 40 to 50 names like this who were using it left, right, and center without even giving credit to me. And so it made me wake up. I was a little lazy, woke up very late, but I did catch hold of a few people and then they apologized. So my understanding is that for films like these, people misuse IPs, and only when you catch them do they think that there is something that needs to be done. So that uh, trend has to change, which is something that we'll talk in when we come to the ethical section that you had pointed out to me, you know. But yes, Jamshed would know, you know, too many aspects of it. But it was a big learning for me about what can be done with IPs and how you need to protect it and care about it. Then came a feature film that I did, that I released it almost on the cusp of the lockdown period, and that again changed my notion of IPs because there was, I had to employ someone who we normally employ for 2 months around the time of release. But here I had to employ them and re-employ them because there was some. So in 1.5 years, they pulled it down from unauthorized uh, load ups about 200 times. So 200 times people were misusing it and things like that. And so I, well, it was a very frustrating experience because the time and effort required to do these things is really not needed if people follow ethical ways to do it. So these two projects did make me understand the value of IP and the need to protect, and also gave me a fair bit of idea about how IPs are misused in various ways.
Ramanand, how do you leverage international distribution to expand the reach of your films?
Well, again, international distributors, I feel that very important to get a good agent. See, there are, when you go to Berlinale, European film market, American film market, Cannes, Busan, all these. So you have, like 200 people who have put on their pavilions. Okay, their websites look fabulous. In effect, there are about maybe 1,000 plus fairly uh, fairly interesting website owning distributors. But it's a huge scam, I can tell you, because they make you sign contracts which are completely one-sided, and you feel that they talk with you long talks, tall talks, and after that, and they will put on some money, in terms of its it's P&A, so to say, in a small way, not the way we put here in India, but in a small way, because they say that no, we have to cover up our festival circuit, and people and talent and pavilion costs and all these things, and you relent and you say that okay, but it's really a racket because they will bill the same thing to 200 IPs that they will own, and you rarely see monies from them. So my caution to anyone would be, all websites look very exciting when you do their background search, but look at the films that they are distributing, you know, and gauge their relationship with the production houses. If they are doing it with authentic production houses, good films, by all means, get them, chase them, collaborate with them. Otherwise, be extremely cautious, extremely cautious.
Jamshed, how do you approach advising clients on protecting intellectual property, like Brahmanand was highlighting earlier, when their creative works are distributed internationally, considering the variances in copyright law across different regions?
So of course it depends on where the producer really is. That's as Brahmanand very rightly said. It all starts right from the beginning. So where I mean, let's assume that if the producer is in Mumbai or in India, so then of course the Indian legal system would apply. So of course you have the Copyrights Act, you have the Contract Act, you get all your contracts together to begin with. Copyright, of course, is the most important. As you know, copyright is not one single right; it's a bundle of rights. So you get all the, I mean, right from the script writer, downward. Sometimes it's not an original script. It may have been, based on the life story of somebody else. So then those rights have to be factored in and brought in. So there's this entire maze of contracts that you have to get together. That's one. And the second thing is when you actually as copyright can be done right from the beginning right till the final product, the copyright of the film as it, this is the law even today. And of course that's the great thing about the law changes all the time. So the ultimate copyright in the film obviously belongs to the producer. So this entire set of copyrights of individuals then all come together. Each one has his separate rights as well. I mean that is also to be understood. And then of course you get the advantage of the international conventions like the Berne Convention and the Rome Convention, where these then apply across the world under the Copyrights Act. So of course you can also go to WIPO and other places and get your copyright registered, but that's typically what happens. And I mean you don't as a producer you don't want to waste too much time on things like that. So when you hand it makes a lot of sense to hand it over to a professional who can actually do that for you and guide you through the process.
Brahmanand, how do you navigate ethical considerations when incorporating IP into social impact projects, particularly given the nature of online curated content platforms and their compliances?
See, I would say that when you do a socially relevant project as a producer, you know, uh, as a producer director in a way, my first priority is its reach and impact. It's not money as such, Money, yes, I would like to recover. I'd like to give it back to whoever has put in the money. There is no doubt about that. But the first core urge is how many people can see, what's the kind of impact that it can it make a difference or not. But this is for the socially relevant films. And I feel that if people reach out to you and they say that they don't have money, but can you still give me permission, or I have only this much to offer, but I'd like you to. There is not a problem. There are still good filmmakers, good producers who relent and who let go and who understand, as long as it's making sense to them. But I think that is not happening. People upload, download. See, it's any film is available on torrent and 10 other prominent sites like that. To anybody who wants to have a screening, they can download a good quality thing and can screen, can either watch it or screen it for people, whatever. So I feel that it's for the people who want to have a screening. It's important that they reach out, you know, and take a formal permission. That's the ideal scenario. It does not happen. So what you do is what we do as producers, as directors, is that we sometimes relent and we sometimes catch them. We catch them where you see that they are doing a commercial exploitation and they are still not paying you, the rightful thing. So I feel that, like you said, it's a very tricky navigating uh, territory as such, as to where you put your foot down and say that, look, I want compensation for this, or I want you to pay up a certain amount. and where you let go and say that okay, they're doing a good job there, it's for people. Well, it's for people, it's great, but the producer and the director have spent time, effort, money. Somebody has put in money for good cause. Okay, he's not looking for making on a 20 crore project, 400 crores since 2000 crores, Bahubali. But he would want that 4 crores to come, that 20 crores to come back, you know, and make a little bit so that your year or two that you have spent gets justified in spite of your goals being somewhere else. So I feel that it's a very tricky terrain, but we have to navigate it cautiously. We can't possibly pull up everyone, but yes, people where your intent looks doubtful, we should not have any problem in pulling them up. You need a very good lawyer like Jamshed, for that, constantly on board, and this is a regular activity. I feel that um an IP lawyer on your panel is is an investment. It's not a cost, and I think uh, some understand it, some still don't understand it. And then they complain. And I have gone through the tough way, and I realize the importance.
Jamshed, when legal considerations intersect with ethical standards and social impact projects, how do you measure a harmonious alignment and navigate potential challenges, especially in collaborations involving communities?
So this is a very, very interesting question. I think on the issue of sort of violations, etc. I think Brahmanand has touched on a couple of. I want to sort of go back to the on the social impact. I mean, today, for example, and I'll start with one scenario. For example, say if take the case of say the situation of say rape with the promise of marriage, which is a crime in India. Somebody wants to do something and project that in a film. Now he takes that and he, there's a somebody says no, no, this is all wrong and it's a crime and how can you show that? But if he produces it, for example, in Poland, where it's not, all right, and he then distributes it and it also comes to India, then what happens in such cases? I think that's again a very interesting. And today, with the advent of the OTT and things like that, you will have different countries, different laws, different aspect, different perspectives. So this is an international legal problem, and of course it depends on which jurisdiction you are. So and the other aspect is you know quite often, if it is especially for the purposes education, and you prepare. I mean, we had a case in point some time ago where something an entire series was made for educational purposes, and somebody just came and copied it start to finish, calling it something else, and we had to approach the court of law and get a John Doe order, and get them to stay it, and these guys are so quick that within minutes it's transmitted from A continent to B continent, and this is so the. But I think the enforcement of this has become much better. Authorities are now aware, the judiciary is aware, and even on the legal side you are aware of this. As you know, in copyright you have both civil remedies as well as criminal remedies. Uh, so you can sort of invoke both. So I think that is something. But you're right. I think there has to be a balance. And as Brahmanand very rightly said, the producers first interested in just getting his investment back to begin with. I think that has to be kept in mind when approaching matters like that.
Brahmanand, how do you strike a balance between embracing innovation and storytelling in an ever changing media landscape?
Well, this is probably a very relevant question for hundreds of us, who are trying to strike that balance, because your technology is changing, world is changing, your mindsets are changing, your watching habits are changing. And I feel that uh, where people go wrong is they try to ride on the bandwagon, you know, they try to ride on whatever is the trend. I feel that that is always outside in, and many times it doesn't work. But the same thing, if you try and concentrate on what you want to say, how you want to say, you know, from inside out, then you can take a look that this is what I want to say. Now let me see how can I speak a contemporary language. So if yesterday I wore bell bottoms and today I have drain pipes, well, I remain the same person, but I just change my dress and I'm contemporary. So I think if that is kept in mind, it's not very difficult. For that, you need to look around, you need to see around, and yet not get swayed by it. Take it in, but probably, you know, retain your soul, retain yourself, retain your authenticity, retain who you are, what you want to say. Just change a little bit the way you want to say it, you know, and stylistically, visually, content wise, contemporaneity elements included, you know, and things like that. So I feel many of us manage to do that quite well. And well, we have had cases where um, brilliant filmmakers of the past tried to replicate, you know, what they would have probably made in the 80s, and they made it in 2000 or 2010s, and it didn't work, you know. And it was good content. It's not that it was the content was bad. It's just that probably the viewing styles have changed. So you need to be sensitive to that and try and adapt to how you would want to tell a story, not compromise. These are two different things, I feel.
Jamshed, in cases of copyright infringement, what strategies could clients deploy to enforce IP rights, and how do you approach litigation when necessary?
So the traditional approach, of course, is you first obviously you get in touch with the lawyer, and then he decides. As I said, you usually have two types of IPR sort of litigation. One is which is contractual in nature. The other one is based on infringement of copyright and maybe even trademark for that matter. Now, what do you can do? You can approach a couple of issues. Means a couple of ways. One is that if it is international and you are registered, say through an authority like WIPO, then you could approach them. If it is within India, of course, you have. Copyright is. You have to approach the district court or the high court for copyright infringement as far as the civil side is concerned. You also have, interestingly, and which a lot of people are not employing, is the criminal side, where you can get an order from the magistrate to impound copies. I mean, earlier, when it was the physical, it was much easier. Now, of course, everything is online, so that's an issue. But recently, in fact, what we've noticed is where we found, an artistic work used in by an animation company was lock, stock, and barrel sort of usurped by maybe a group of fans who then suddenly had sort of 10, 15,000 followers. And the gentleman was very, very concerned. He said, all my work, which has happened in-house, is now gone. So we wrote to to the authority and gave them enough proof of concept, and they and we put it up interestingly on that particular the social media, saying that if you don't do this, first they tried to block that, but we used a different method. We used 3 or 4 different people to write it simultaneously, which then became a problem for them. And then the authority also agreed. And then all those accounts were blocked. So that's a very interesting and simple method. Of course, if it's a movie, it's much problematic. But so the only sort of real recourse is to approach a court and get a stay against and an infringement. And then once you're able to and you can do both civil and criminal simultaneously. And the offenses are include imprisonment. So I mean, the such pirates, better beware. I know piracy is a huge problem worldwide, but I think it's getting sort of better and better. They're getting cleverer, but I think we are catching up with them.
Brahmanand, when initiating new projects such as Surmai Sham and biopic series, how do you approach collaboration with other creative minds throughout the production and distribution phases?
Very interesting. I think you need to be confident enough to share it with people, speak about it, because there's no other way to get going on things. You have to collaborate with people. So you have to open yourself up. And the moment you open yourself up, there is that little chance that someone may misuse it, you know. So somewhere between being confident, because again, at that stage, you will realize that people may steal your idea, but they will never be able to steal your execution if you have lived with it for 2 years, 4 years, and more, whatever. So I feel that that confidence has to be there, which makes you open up and look for collaboration. And at the same time, you need to be confident enough to be cautious when in the sense that आप किसी को कोई चीज दे रहे हो तो एक आप एनडीए साइन करा लो, put your foot down, simple. It need not be rude, it need not look insulting. It's part of the thing. Okay, let's talk, but can you just sign this? The problem that happens is when today's production houses and OTTs sometimes they make you sign a reverse contract. They reverse NDA, you know, where they say that they receive hundreds of proposals and many proposals might look like this, okay, and you cannot sue them. You cannot tomorrow claim that anything that looks like this. In fact, there was a case recently with a very prominent OTT where they had to eventually make two films on the same subject which looked identical with different stars because they had run into this kind of a problem. They first said no to the person who had reached them out with script and it went to advanced level and then it didn't work out according to them for whatever reason. And then they ended up making that same film through someone else. And then the first one who got rejected, they like Jamshed mentioned, charged them that, well, this is my script. And then finally they had to make that film also. Okay, so it was a
And it
case
might
of
have just lost that traction, you know. If it was a completely unique story, then audiences view two of the
mm,
two of that,
mm,
the series or
yeah,
content as the same.
correct.
So how does
But
one avoid this, Jamshed? You know, the
I
whole
think yes. So I think in a very friendly way, without making it sound like a very big thing, one should get an NDA signed. I don't know how easy or difficult it is. In my experience, it's mixed. I reach out to a couple of people, who if you get NDA signed, they feel very insulted. You know, they feel that you don't consider them friends good enough. But that's not true. I mean, there are people who understand that, and then they say that, yeah, of course, let's do. Jamshed,
Yeah,
what's
sure.
what's
I
your
think,
experience?
well, many years ago, if you had asked somebody, can you'd like to give you a contract, I mean, they'll look at you, I believe, and say that they use, much harsher language and say that you don't trust us and we won't
Yeah.
be with you. But those days are, as Shakespeare said, those days are went. They are over.
Mm.
Today, you're in an international scenario, and there is absolutely no question. You have to have your not only NDAs, your contracts, and at every stage. It doesn't have to be complicated. That's the other thing. It should be simple. It should be read over. should be understood and then implementable. That is the second part of it. And yes, I mean we've seen, and there have been cases not only in the Bombay High Court going all the way to the Supreme Court on cases where the ideas have been sort of sometimes stolen in broad daylight, and then what does someone do about it? And quite often it's the whole project gets affected. One thing that we always recommend to producers especially is please get insurance and insure your project right from the beginning, because that is another because you don't know tomorrow where the sort of the culprit is coming from. I mean, you may have someone, thankfully now the courts have been very harsh. They don't like a film to be stopped at the nth hour. But in the past, it has happened so many times. People have lost millions just because someone has, raised an objection. And our court systems are slow, so it becomes very difficult to prove either way. So I this the suggestion again is that let's understand this better. Let's change our systems. And I always say, like in the US, you have these small claims tribunals. This is where you should be going to. You should have people who have knowledge in these subjects, even deciding cases like this, because I think it has become very specialized. Filmmaking has become complicated. It's not as it was in the past. So I think all this needs to be sort of brought together.
Jamshed, also, if I can add to that, is that the idea is to protect things and keep it simple. You know, so many times I feel that two parties uh, they start trying to agree on a principal understanding. These are the 15 points on which we agree. But when the contract comes, it's totally different. So, which means there's no sync between who has briefed the lawyer to write the contract, and and then it's unnecessarily waste of legal time. you know if your basic visions are not in sync. If I have to agree doing something with you, I'll agree in principle to at least 10, 15 things. Only then can we move to the next stage. Otherwise, it's a total waste of time. So I think these things need to be understood by both the sides, and probably it's not such a difficult thing. Like Jamshed said, today it's become a norm. And if anyone takes an objection to that or something, then I feel that it's a very good indicator that let's not get into that collaboration, because it will only mean problem. You know.
Jamshed, to what Brahmanand said earlier on the reverse NDA, and it could be sometimes even in good faith, but sometimes it
Yeah.
could also be risky. What should be the ideal institutional mechanism to one safeguard both, probably the person who's going to acquire the film, but also the person who's going to eventually produce it for the platform?
So, I mean, that's exactly what I was saying right in the beginning, that, you, just as he said that, that copyright, for example, or IPR is an issue right from the beginning. So, right from the beginning, you must have, as you go along, you have various stages of making or producing the film. So, right from the script, the concept, at every stage, ensure that all parties are covered. Ensure that, I mean, at the end of the day, your scriptwriter, your actor, your DOP, everyone is part of the film. So there's no nothing wrong in working harmoniously with them rather than treating them as adversarial. And I think that would actually really help. And 90% of the problems that actually occur are in the form of somebody's ego is hurt, and you've not given me credit for something, or there is a monetary issue,
Yeah.
or very rarely is there a real issue of copyright, or it's such a large infringement or something that the court really needs to go into and set down new law. That's very rare. That must be happening in maybe 10 or 15% of the cases. So the rest is just this. And I think one area that we really hope that will come into being is proper mediation. I think that should be done. It should be done at all stages. I mean, there's no. I mean, quite often in a contract they'll say mention an arbitrator or a sole arbitrator to be appointed by both the parties. Do it right from the beginning, because that time that's when your relations are hunky dory and there is no problem. So put the arbitrator's name there, refer your disputes or differences to him, throughout the contract. Why is it not being done? So I think these, slight tweaks will really ensure, as they say, the ease of the business of filmmaking. And that's, I think, what we should be aiming for.
I also feel, Loita, that basic awareness, basic legal awareness is lacking, even in the producers, directors. A lot of them, they don't understand the difference between MOU and agreement, for example, you know. And these are critical things. So they will send you an MOU, they will send you an agreement, irrespective of at what stage what is needed. Then second, very rampant procedure practice that exists is that so they will have one sample contract for, let's say, an artist, and they will replicate that by just replacing the name, you know, to save a lawyer's cost. But I would say let the lawyer handle it. Let your legal person handle it. It doesn't matter if you're paying 15,000 or 25,000 per agreement for just to change a name, because you don't know where something critical might be needed to change, which your legal person would know. So I feel that a lot more awareness among producers, directors are needed for the IP culture to surface up in a healthy way. And not to feel insulted, not to feel cheated, not to feel waste of money. So like I very strongly feel that insurance and legal costs are still very, very compromised. People don't understand its importance, you know and just like at one point of time, something else used to be compromised. At another point of time, maybe PNA was very compromised. People won't feel the need to have that in their budget. Today is the time when you need to have these couple of things at least really, really in place, and to make sure that your IP is safe. Yes.
Brahmanand, what is your message to new filmmakers?
I would say be confident, be authentic, be yourself, and be careful, but not, fearful, not over conscious, that no, this is my creation and everybody in the world is out there to cheat you. Still play with your trust. Have trust. Losing trust is a very high price to pay for, someone with whom you have had a wrong experience, a bad experience, So I feel it's a big world. It's a nice world. Collaborate, create things, look for people, collaborate with like-minded people, collaborate with people who understand, who are not petty thinkers, you know. So they, if if your collaborator is not petty thinker, they will not mind some of these very basics. They will see through it. If the collaborator is petty, then I don't think it's worth working with them at all. You have to choose the people you work with. That's a first life lesson that I could share with anyone, because you'll always come across people and you'll always have a choice. So I think that's the message that I would like to give to young filmmakers. It's a wonderful world. There are wonderful people and there are wonderful projects. So let's take it in this spirit. Focus on whatever, just like you make your production budget, okay, and you make sure that you have not missed out anything. So you go through it once, twice, thrice, four times. There are six people who have put their mind on it. Sometimes the budget that you have made is not good enough. If it's not made by professionals, you are missing out on seven things. You're making, so you have set construction, but you don't have a category called set dismantling. Well, that's a huge cost. So who pays for it? You pay from your own pocket. So there's no need for that. There's no need for paying from your own pocket as long as you have a budget. They're all justified. So have your categories well worked out. IP is a very important part, is the soul of your entire creation. Be confident, don't be completely insecure. It's a wonderful world. Go out and enjoy.
Thank you so much, Ramanand and Jamshed, for this discussion. I'm sure our viewers will find it very insightful.
Thank you so much, and wonderful to be here. Thank you.